Well, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Nick Walker Ministries. As always, I want to encourage you, please subscribe to our channel. That is a great help to us. And be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the content. We have fresh content coming out here every week on YouTube. We've got fresh content coming out on Facebook. A lot of our Facebook messages are from revivals that I've preached or graphics we post. And then, of course, here on YouTube, you've seen a lot of these maybe table or desk talks from me recently, but we also put a lot of sermon excerpts, a lot of revival excerpts on here as well. And of course, our ministry partners get access to the entire teaching. We put excerpts on YouTube, but we have people who have graciously sown into our ministry, and they get the entire unedited, uncut footage from these revival meetings. And so if you want to know more about what that looks like to partner with our ministry, go to nwministries.com/partner, and it'll take you to all of those different, all the different levels of partnership. Of course, we'll put a link in the bio as well, so that you don't have to do all that typing. Just click the link; it'll take you right to it. And of course, on our website is a very detailed itinerary of all the places that we're going. You might see that it's very soon. It may have already happened at the time of me making this video. It hasn't happened yet, but we've got a couple of great revivals coming up in the month of November. Of course, first we have Stryker Bible Church in Chapmanville, West Virginia. That's November, I believe it's 12th to 15th. And then I believe the first week of November, November 5th to 8th, we are at Mallory Church of God in Man, West Virginia. The last time I was there was 2021 when we did our 6-week Strike the Ground. It was a marathon of revival meetings in the Logan and Mingo County area. Had great results there, almost 500 baptisms. And so that 6-week stretch, though, began at Mallory Church of God. So very excited to be back. At the time of this video, if those revivals have not happened yet, I want to encourage you to join us there. It's going to be a great time in the Lord. Again, that is Man and Chapmanville, not too far apart, and we'll be there 2 consecutive weeks. And so very excited for that. I want to share with you something just very briefly to encourage you. Again, the Lord's just been stirring me to encourage and exhort on this YouTube page recently. And this is another old message that I preached, and I still preach it occasionally, but it's something that the Lord gave to me in the year of I believe it was 2019, the first time I touched on this subject, and it's Matthew chapter 8. I want to read the story to you about when Jesus touches a leper. This is one of my favorite stories to minister, and I'll share with you why in just a second, but you have to hear the story. When Jesus came down from the mountain, this is Matthew 8, verse 1, large crowds followed him. And a leper came to him and bowed before him and said, Lord, if you're willing, you can make me clean. He already knew. He said, Lord, I already know that you can make me clean. If you're willing, I know you can do this. And so he says, if you're willing, you can make me clean. And Jesus stretched out his hand and touched him and said, I am willing, be cleansed. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. Now, what you may not know about the leper or the disease of leprosy is back in that day, of course, it's still highly contagious today, but back then there was no cure for it. And when you got leprosy, it was pretty much a death sentence to you. And so what would happen is it was so contagious that if you were found by the priesthood to have leprosy, they pushed you out of town, ran you out and put you in a leper colony where basically you went to die. You were outcasted, you were ostracized from society, and you had to go outside of the city walls to a colony where only lepers were living. And that way the disease would not spread because they had no cure for it. And now I'm going to say something that I found to be kind of interesting, kind of funny. And when I say this, everybody says, "Oh no," because it brings back that, as my pastor always says, PTSD is real, man. If you had leprosy and you were walking amongst the public, not in the leper colony, but in the public square, you had to stay 6 feet away from everyone. And I know that's going to bring back memories, but I always have to say that when I talk about leprosy, just because of all the things that we have of course, been through with coronavirus. And so when I say that, everybody's like, oh no, no one wanted to hear that again, you know. But that was the same protocol back in that time. Jewish writing will tell you that they had to stay 6 feet away from everyone. So my favorite thing about this story is that you and I both know that Jesus could have spoken a word. Jesus could have held out his hand without touching him, but Jesus did something that to the human mind is such a risky thing to do. And I read this and I said, why would Jesus risk touching him when he could simply speak a word? He blew on his disciples and they received the Holy Spirit. He just breathed on them. He simply spoke and someone came resurrected from the dead. So we know that Jesus did not have to touch him, yet he did. And the reason that Jesus did that, and here's where I want to encourage you and leave you with this word. The reason that Jesus touched the leper, he told me, I was reading this and just said, well, why did you do it that way? Because, he spit in mud and rubbed it on someone's eyes and they washed off in the river and their eyes were made whole. So Jesus healed in many different ways. He showed himself in many different ways. And so why did Jesus touch the leper? Well, the reason Jesus touched the leper, my friends, is because he was trying to tell you and I this: only I can touch what everybody else has called untouchable. And I don't know what you have in your life that you might say is untouchable. Maybe it's a secret sin that you say, well, this is just a part of who I am. I was born this way. There's nothing I can do to get rid of it. And so it's just untouchable. Maybe you have anxiety. Maybe you have anger problems, and you say it's untouchable. Anger runs in my family. My dad had it. My granddad had it, and that may be the case for anything in your life. And you might have just marked it off as the thing that's untouchable, and so I hide it. I don't really want people to talk about it, and I don't want it to be exposed because it's just a part of my life that cannot be touched. And Jesus was demonstrating right here with a very contagious disease. If you or I touched this man, we would get leprosy. But Jesus touched him, and he didn't get leprosy. Leprosy got him. And so what I want to speak to you and encourage you with today is that if you would expose that problem, that addiction, that sin to the Lord. It's not it is not your Jesus that will encounter your addiction. It is your addiction that will encounter Jesus. It is your sin that will encounter Jesus. It is your anxiety that will encounter Jesus. And people might say, well, what happened to it? What happened to your anger? What happened to your alcoholism? What happened to this? Jesus happened to it, because only Jesus can touch the untouchable person. Only Jesus can touch the untouchable thing, and only Jesus can cleanse what everybody else will ostracize. What everybody else wants to shove out to the outskirts of town, Jesus says, no, I can cleanse that. You don't have to go into the outskirts and be an outcast. I can cleanse that. I can wash that. I can sanctify that, where you will never have to walk in that again. And I want to encourage someone today that's watching to say that Jesus wants to touch the part of you that you've always said is untouchable. He did it with leprosy. If he can do it with leprosy, how easy would it be for something that's going on within your own mind? Let Jesus touch and cleanse the thing that you've called untouchable. I love all of you. Thank you for keeping up with the things that our ministry is doing, the places we're going, the video content. Don't forget to share this with people who I know need a touch from the Lord. I know need an encouraging, exhorting word from the Lord, from His word, because there are people that feel like that they have things that are just not fixable, not mendable, and unable to be touched. And Jesus wants to touch the untouchable. So I love all of you. God bless you. I'll see you next week, everybody.